we live in an extraordinary time, of course, social distancing, etc. I wonder if Epic Games had an announcement ready to go. I wonder if there were plans for a Fortnite World Cup. I don't know for sure, but I suspect, hunch, gut feeling, there was one. And now it's unable, like plans change. Obviously, in the climate that we're in, they can't put it on. It just won't happen online.
You don't recruit Nate Nancer, arguably the most public commissioner in all of esports history.
Yep.
Right? Like the literal like brainchild of his was the initial overall was tailored to be an expensive business millionaire oriented thing. The original idea was his. You do not recruit him and move him from Los Angeles to North Carolina and pay him a highly lucrative salary to leave Activision Blizzard, where he had been for some time. You don't do that unless you had some plans. And I would say that, yeah, you're probably right. Now that we're in a global pandemic and every event under the sun in person is being canceled or postponed, that was probably the thing. Unfortunately, though, I think, and I respect Nate a lot, and so I don't blame him for this, I think that hiring Nate was too little too late. And I think that by the time he got into the door at Epic and got in the right rooms and started talking to people, the issue was already there. So many of the players in Fortnite were already frustrated with how things were being handled in competitive because it was an incredibly casual, tailored game. One thing I want to point out here, sorry, I really want to point this out. It's really important in this conversation. Valorant will not hit like Fortnite will from a mainstream pop culture perspective. I don't know anyone who is not, I don't know anyone who's not like the three of us super hardcore into esports that has even heard about Valorant, even with all the huge launch that happened last week, right? With Ninja and all these others, Shroud, etc., streaming their gameplay, right? I don't know anyone that will do that. What Valorant is aiming to be, right, is it's aiming to be a couple of different things, in my opinion. One, it's aiming to be the most PG first-person shooter you can get anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Counter-Strike is widely criticized for counter-terrorist, terrorist, bomb, real-life weapons, etc., right? It makes a lot of people, advertisers, TV executives, etc., sour. And Valorant doesn't have those same issues. These are fictional characters. There are guns, but they're not real guns. There aren't bombs. It's called a spike, right? Like it has all those various issues eliminated, right? Because they're starting from fresh. They're not dealing with a game that's 20 years old, and if you alter it, your fan base goes wild and hates you, right? That would happen with Valve and Counter-Strike if they changed it. Now, what Valorant also aims to be is like League of Legends. Yeah, it may not be the most pop culturally relevant game in the world. That's Fortnite. However, League of Legends is consistently and has been for like 7 years the biggest PC game in the world because it hit in China, where Fortnite has not been able to penetrate, right? Where battle royales in general, other than PUBG, have also not been able to penetrate. If Valorant can hit in China, it will surpass Counter-Strike. That's the big thing, right? Is Counter-Strike's not been able to hit in China either, at least to a major extent. It's been able to hit in the West, and that's why it's the second biggest esports game in the industry. I think that's the lane Valorant wants, and I think that Fortnite will continue to be relevant. And so Epic, to rake in the dollars to make back the money, the billions of dollars in investment that they took on last year, right? Like the big thing for them is that they need to make revenues. And so, yeah, tailoring to the casual more than the competitive player is important for their bottom line. I don't think that's going to change. I think Nate was a little too late to the equation to fix it.
I don't think so. I think that they were just one announcement away from keeping all of the player base no matter what Valorant did. I think Valorant is succeeding right now because of circumstance. I believe that if the Fortnite World Cup was announced and if it was a $5 million prize pool, Psalm would not have gone to Valorant.
It would be. I think it would depend on how Valorant responded. I think
Valorant said that they would have millions of dollars in an esport ecosystem, maybe, but we're not far from that.
I was gonna say, I think Riot's approach to, so I don't know what they're gonna do with Valorant, right? But I think Riot's approach to esports previously, and again, this was 2011, so it was a long time ago, almost 10 years ago at this point. when we're thinking of competitive League of Legends and its like true infancy. But historically, if we're looking at that, Riot allowed it to grow a bit before putting on any sort of major tournaments. Now, whether they have the option to do that now is something that people also is debatable, because when you release a game now, because of the success of League of Legends, because of the success of CSGO, you have people who are like, where's the esport, right? Like Overwatch launched with esports specifically in mind. And I think any game since has had that kind of like looming over it, where investors are like, okay, when's the esport coming? Like, you need to release this at the same exact time. I don't know what Riot's going to do with Valorant, but I do want to talk slightly about FPS in China and the fact that they really need China to hit, because I think one of the detriments, massive detriments to Overwatch this year actually was the fact that they weren't able to have those homestands in China, right? Like the way that this pandemic moved and where it started and how it moved across the globe actually made it so that none of the Chinese teams could have their own homestands, unlike a lot of the Western teams. The Western teams weren't what you needed. You needed all of those sold out. You needed all of those sold out events in Guangzhou, Hangzhou, Shanghai, and oh my gosh, Chengdu. How could I forget my Chengdu Hunters? I love them so much. I think that was huge. That was a huge miss. And that's actually not Blizzard's fault. That's just like really awkward timing. I will fault them for botching their initial launch in China because of everything that happened around Shanghai in year one. But this is a really unfortunate circumstance. And I think it might have had more of a foothold as an FPS in China if that had at least been allowed to happen, because those events were sold out and there were fans that really wanted to see those teams in China. Now with Riot, the big thing that made League of Legends so successful is because their partner was Tencent. They were able to put that game out really easily, attach it to people's QQ accounts, so it's just there when you log in to your like regular, like ubiquitous social media, and you can click and sign up for free and play. And it's like just right there, and it makes it so easy. And so my guess is, because Riot, Tencent is still a major investment in Riot, not just League of Legends. Even if the China launch is later than the rest of the world, which is rumored to be, I don't know if that's confirmed. Jacob, you can back me up or deny that.
At least for beta, they said that for now the beta will be in Canada, US, and Europe, because they've not been able, particularly because of the pandemic, they've not been able to necessarily set up structure and everything. Would require in-person travel in Asian countries that have significant coronavirus cases right now.
Well, and that's people correct. Don't want to receive people from the US right now either, I don't think. But the thing with that is, I think when that comes, that will create a more organic, very easy tie-in if Tencent is doing something very similar with Valorant. And then for me, it's up to how Riot wants to create an esport around it, like that way. I don't know if they're going to start launching tournaments immediately. I don't know if they're just going to let it sit and stew a bit.
I think they want to be like, I think they want to be a middle ground of like what Activision Blizzard has done, which has been too hardline, and what Epic has done, which is not enough, right? I think very much so they want to be in the middle, right? Like they want to run the middle lane.
Like, Epic is very much like Dota. It's one giant event a year.
Yes. Yeah, they're very similar. You can compare Epic Games to Nintendo in terms of they make a great product. They do support other tournaments throughout the year here and there, but the ones that matter are the big ones that they slap their name on.